Why are you crying? Batman. What Batman? There. Points behind me at a dark corner of the room. Lamp on the bookshelf next to said darkened corner falls off as soon as I turn to look. She slept in our bed that night. I jokingly asked, "What's the best way to get a girlfriend?" 7-year-old's response, "Tell her to be my girlfriend or she'll never see her parents again." I was tucking in my 2-year-old. He said, "Goodbye, Dad." I said, "No, we say goodnight." He said, "I know." Had to check on him a few times to make sure he was still there. My son from the age of 3 always tells me about the creeper man who lives in my mom and dad's bedroom. He brings it up after he visits them. I made the mistake once of asking what he looks like. My son said, "Oh, he doesn't have a face." Not to me, but to his grandmother. He was cuddling with her and being very sweet. He was about 3 at the time. He takes her face in his hands and brings his face close to hers and then tells her that she's very old and will die soon. Then he makes a point of looking at the clock. While changing my daughter in front of the open closet door, she kept looking around and laughing. I asked her what was so funny. She said, "The man." To which I replied, "What man?" She then pointed at the closet and said, "The man with the snake neck." I turned around and nothing was there. I'm afraid to look into the history of my house and see if anyone hung themselves in the closet. At least she wasn't scared. My 3-year-old daughter was in the bath playing with her toys with me and laughing. Suddenly her face deadpans. She looks me in the eye and tells me in a serious little voice, "Mommy, if you bit and ate all my fingers off, I wouldn't love you anymore." My 4-year-old son said, "Daddy, I want to drill into your tummy, crawl inside, and eat your dinner." The food was okay, but I didn't think it was worth that much effort. My 3-year-old daughter stood next to her newborn brother and looked at him for a while, then turned and looked at me and said, "Daddy, it's a monster. We should bury it." I was on a bus recently. We were stopped outside a walk-in clinic. A little girl on the seat in front of me turned to her dad and said, "Death is the poor man's doctor." And that was that. I was sound asleep, and at around 6 a.m., I was woken by my 4-year-old daughter's face, inches from mine. She looked right into my eyes and whispered, "I want to peel all your skin off." My toddler went through a phase where she would constantly say hi to things. Hi, hi, hi. One day, it came out sounding more like, "Die, die, die." So I say to her, "What's that you're saying?" And she turns to face me and just whispers, "Die." I have a 3-year-old daughter. She tells me that a red man comes into her room at night through her window. His name is Consequences, and he's mean to her. She said he hurts her and stares at her while she's in her bed. She says that he comes in a spaceship with other red men. I have no idea where she would get the material for this story, and she really, really believes it. I've locked her window for her and pulled the blinds, all in an attempt to convince her that no one is getting through her window. Sometimes, in the morning, she'll say, "It didn't work, Mama. Consequences got in last night again." My daughter, about 5 years old at the time, riding with me in my truck. A gnat, mosquito, bug of some kind is buzzing around her and bothering her, so she's complaining about it. So I told her to just swat it. She visually follows it until it's against the passenger window and quickly smashes it with her hand. She then turns to me with the strangest look in her eyes and says, "That was my first time killing something." We were driving down a dark, snowy highway late one evening, final stretch of a 16-hour-long road trip. My son, who was around 4 or 5 at the time, was in the back seat and becoming a bit restless. He suddenly covered his face with a blanket and announced loudly, "I don't want to get glass on my face." A few moments later, a pickup truck towing some snowmobiles pulled out in front of a tractor trailer a few cars in front of us and got hit, spinning out in the median. Fortunately, we avoided the accident completely. It was indeed a bit creepy, though, almost as though he predicted there was going to be an accident right in front of us. I was heading to the bathroom on the second floor of my auntie's house when I saw my cousin, April, on the stairs. She was 4 at the time, so very hyperactive. She was busy making funny faces while sitting on the stairs. I asked her what she was doing. She said, "I'm copying the lady with the braid." I looked around, there was no one else but us. I asked her, "Where is the lady, April?" She pointed to a beam running parallel to the stairs. I asked April, "What is the lady doing?" She said, "Making funny faces." Thinking nothing of it, I started walking up the stairs again when April said something that stopped me in my tracks. "Her braid is around her neck." I turned around and asked April to repeat herself. April pointed upwards. "The lady is hanging by her braid. She's making funny faces." Then April started making a face, which I then realized was someone gasping for air. My 3-year-old son generally has a happy-go-lucky attitude, so this is pretty odd. Sometimes when he's cuddling his mommy, he says, very seriously, "Mom, I promise I will never chew on your bones. I promise." A few years ago, I was babysitting a friend's daughter. They lived in an apartment with a big patio window. She walked up to the glass door leading out to the patio and stared, motionless, into the night for several minutes. Shortly after, she ran into my arms saying, "Scary, too scary." She wouldn't let me put her down and demanded that I hold her and rock her for the next half an hour. Eventually, she started repeating over and over, "The dark coming inside now. The dark coming inside now." My younger cousin, around 5 at the time, once drew a picture of a black monster, looked up at me, and he said, "He told me to draw this. He's coming for you. You better hide." I was babysitting overnight. Both kids sleepwalk and talk in their sleep. The oldest was crying in his sleep, got up and locked himself in the bathroom. It took a while to get him out. I ended up sleeping on the couch in the middle of the night. I woke up feeling like someone was watching me. He was standing next to the couch. I said, "What are you doing?" His response, "The man watches you when you sleep." And then he walked back to bed. I didn't go back to sleep. My 5-year-old at the time had night terrors and would scream in her sleep. One night I said, "Mama's here, it's okay." She looked right at me, still asleep, and screamed, "Mama? But who is that behind you?"